What's going on, PML? We are opening the season with some PML preseason power rankings. Today, we're going to go over 32 through 17. And before we get started, if you don't like the rankings, make your own fucking rankings. And if you do, well, let us know and we'll keep putting stuff out. So, we're going to start off with number 32, and we have Ja Reggae Boys. So, Ja, I don't know if he's going to be in the season, like on the actual franchise when the season starts because he's traveling out of town, but I have a couple bullet points for him, and one is consistently. He's consistently been number 32 on these power rankings as long as I've done it. So, good on him. Um, I made a point that he drafted a generational wide receiver last year. That was pretty cool because I thought for sure that he was gonna like mess it up and like just draft a normal, but he ended up picking him. I think it was like Nick Love or something, and probably like the
Yep.
greatest player ever drafted that never got to do anything in PML. And then finally, I put he never gives up, and he doesn't. He goes out there, he takes his ass kickings, he throws 15 picks in a game, and comes back next week and goes for it again. So that's what I got on Ja, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe now.
Yeah, so I like all three of these bullet points. Actually last Madden, I only got to play him I think twice, but both times he was up at me at halftime. So definitely seen some improvement to his middle A gap blitzes, like every single play on defense and just running the ball. He's actually throwing a lot more. And I might take him a little more seriously this Madden so I don't get down at halftime. But yeah, I think this slide sums it up pretty well. I think there's no surprise here at 32.
All right, we got a couple, special guests here. I didn't quite mention them to start, but we have Joe, we have Tiger, we have Slick, and we have Train. Let's see here. I guess we can have Slick. You were in his division last year, weren't you? Do you have anything to say
I
about Ja?
was. I get Joe touched up. I like the generational wide receiver. I think you're spot on. That was probably the best player that we could never see develop. Uh, and I can't see how that wouldn't compete with some of the top ones, even though I haven't been here long. But yeah, I mean, he blitzes a lot, throws the ball a lot, and sometimes he's kind of a trap game. He can put up some of a fight up until halftime. Then sometimes he makes some silly mistakes, but I could see him maybe moving off 32 once or twice this cycle.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's had his games where he's won like a game or two a season. So if he could consistently get a couple games or maybe up it, maybe he can move out of that 32. I know he does a lot of other leagues, so it maybe at some point all that repetition pushes him on to a little higher in the league. So next, we're going to jump to number 31. And 31, we have Spider Venom 24. So I'll start with this and say I don't know shit about Spider Venom. All I know is that we had franchise players. He put two of them there, and then he decided to also throw a halfback on there afterwards. So he set a new standard in PML for 3-star players. I think he's a PS5 user. I think I had heard that in the chat once. And that's all I have about him, really. I have him in front of Ja without ever seeing him play just because of history. But that's all I have on him. Joe, do you have anything?
I will say I did reach out about this halfback a while back. He said he said that he sees that I'm already trying to take advantage of trading with the new guy, and he's not trading anybody this season. And so it aligns well with the three-star player assignment. So we'll see how he does. I think it's a sign of some Madden franchise IQ if he's unwilling to trade um with people as he joins a new league. So I expect him to climb these rankings. I want to take that as a hint that he could be a solid user.
Okay, so you think we may have a sleeper here. I guess for our other three guests here, does anyone have anything that they know about this user?
I do not.
All right.
Nah, nothing.
Well, we have an international man of mystery, so we'll see how he does in the season. He has a chance to shoot up in the rankings if he is smart like Joe. And I mean, it's a good move by
Smart.
him to it's a good move to hold on to that halfback. He's 93 speed, I think. I'm sure
Yep.
before, I mean,
21 years old.
Seafield was the Cardinals before that. I'm sure Seafield wouldn't have traded him, so follow the Seafield way.
Are we sure this isn't just Seafield reincarnated for PS5?
It could be. We don't know.
And here's a question, kind of a little off topic, but like, has anyone else ever played Madden on PlayStation? Because I played on PlayStation. I feel like it's a little more smooth and almost easier to play. Does anyone think that like a cross-platform player is going to have any kind of advantage playing on like a PS5 over an Xbox?
I have no idea.
I've always pushed X when I want to throw to X, and it ends up being I think square. So when I do play on PlayStation, that always gives me a laugh. But I don't think there's a clear cut advantage that we would notice.
All right, cool. Well, next we're going to jump into 30. And 30, we got Lundo. And a couple of points I have for Lundo is he did lose his pool play game to Teen Titans. That was the first like new user that I actually got to like see a game, and he ended up beating him by like a touchdown, I think. And then I played him and I shut him out, which I think is pretty tough to get shut out in this Madden. I've only played one game so far, but I've seen like the other pool play games, and it seems like a lot of points are being scored. Um, an interesting fact about him is he has a 100% trade rejection rate. I don't think I've ever seen him approve one. So he's definitely keeping the integrity of trades alive. And then finally, he has Josh Allen. So that's pretty cool. Like, even if he can't score points yet, he's going to figure it out. And Josh Allen's going to luck into some bombs. So that's what I got for Lundo. Joe, what do you have?
Well, the 100% trade rejection rate is definitely 100% against Joe. Have been keeping track. There are no tallies in the thumbs up category. Well, maybe one day we'll get there. Yeah, this is a little bit lower than I anticipated for Lundo, but to your point about being shut out, I don't think I've played a game where I haven't scored. I think there's a lot of opportunities to score with this new Madden, so I'm curious to know if that's because of lack of, time spent playing this Madden yet, or maybe discouragement when he saw you in his pool, but TBD, I think. I expect him to climb from 30.
Yeah, I expect him to be higher too. I just seeing him lose to a new user and then that game. I mean, it's early in the cycle. It's tough to tell. He's usually always in the middle of the pack, but I just for
Yeah,
now until I see him kind of go up, this is where I have him. But I'm sure he'll figure out what to do.
I do think, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think early on this time, the amount of like how much you progress and get better in Madden versus your time is exponential at the start. So as you get kind of exposed to a lot of these new like pre-snap motion plays and finding your playbook and fine tuning like your offense and things, I think he won't be shut out moving forward.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess I'll turn it over to Slick. I think Slick, you're pretty close with Lundo, right? Do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, he always starts pretty slow. He's better at defense than offense. Trade rejection rate, news to me, but um, I think he'll improve from 30 for sure. But I think his team, I looked at it and was talking with him. He's got a lot of improvements to make, especially, I'm in a similar boat, having a quarterback that you're having to pay. I think that'll be an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
don't,
Definitely.
yeah.
It's definitely interesting because the Bills are a pretty damn good team, and I think they fell down to like the 30th overall pick in the draft for teams, and that's just crazy to me because all I ever hear is like, "Oh, you pick these great teams," and then I see that no one wants to pick the Bills. So I I think it was a pretty funny thing that they fell down that far. Um, Tiger, do you have anything to say about Lunda?
Yeah, I think Lindo always gives me fits in regards to his defensive scheme. Um, very repetitive at times, but offense I saw become more dynamic last Madden. So if he can build on that, then I think he can definitely rise up the ranks. I do give him credit here with even if he lost to Teen Titans, it's always tough to play the new guy in the league. I felt like I've done that a handful of times with the Cowboy rotations in the past couple of years. So until you figure someone out, it's always a game of like it takes the first half to test out and figure out what they like to do before you can adjust. So yeah, I think it'll climb up to the low 20s here in no time, and maybe even to the mid teens.
All right. Next, we're going to move on to 29. And at 29, we have Tunnel Eyes. I've never seen him play. I'll end up deferring to you guys if you have anything on him. I know he is willing to trade. He's been in my DMs and I've seen him. I think be active. He seems a little late to responses, so he's kind of missed out on some things. But he's looking to make his team better. And then he's never told a lie. So I'm really that's all I have on him. I don't know if anyone else has seen him play like a pool play game or anything like that, but I'll turn it over to Joe.
Yeah, I've not seen anything on him. Have not been active watching pool games yet. Need to get back to some of my film watching. But yeah, I feel like some of these new guys are going to be sleepers for us, and some may stay down at the bottom of these rankings here. But new guys, don't be offended. You're in the bottom because we don't know anything about you. So yeah, you start winning games, we'll respect it and move you up appropriately. So
And
I
tell no
don't. I don't
lies.
think. I don't think you can add much to that, right?
Hey, at 29, being the Cowboys, you're not going to be above 29 because they've been cursed the past 3 or 4 Maddens. So it's probably the highest the Cowboys has ever started out.
Yeah,
That's true.
if he can just make it through the cycle, then he's had a great year as the Cowboys because it just doesn't happen.
yeah, and tell no lies. Just also be aware that you're in a division with two heavyweights of PML and the Redskins and the Giants. So anything in the low 20s is respectable in that division.
Let's keep this PC. It's the Commanders. PML is very
I
inclusive.
refuse. I refuse.
All right, so that's all we got on him. We're gonna move on to 28. And 28, we have King Sean, another new member. I know nothing about him. I searched him up. He has posted 2 total times in Discord. One of them, like when he joined, and the other time he said he joined the league earlier today. So I think he was planning on playing a pool game. I don't know if he has. I have him here. He could be a toss up with anyone else kind of back in this range. It's just basically throwing darts at a wall at this point. So if anyone has anything to say about him, let me know. If not, we can move on.
Well, speaking of a wall, that's I'd rather talk to a wall than Lundo, and this guy's above Lundo, so that is rough.
Do we know if he uses the Discord app to schedule games?
If so,
Well,
he's already above Jaw, that's for sure.
that is true.
No,
All right.
I don't know,
Uh,
but 2 times, that's pretty good.
Yep. So next, we're going to move on to Trame. Just did some research on him. He once made fun of Mush Mamba for leaving the league when he couldn't get the Falcons. So, anyone who doesn't remember, basically, Mamba played like 3 games in total last PML, and he would always be like 2 hours late to each one of them. And we didn't boot him. We just said, hey, you're going to move to the bottom of the team selection because of this. And he had a fit. He said we were oppressing him, and yeah, the train kind of called him out. So good on you for that. I think he's in PML college football. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. If I am, sorry. And he's got a great team, and it was smart of him to franchise his rookie halfback. I already have a sad face there because I would definitely be in the DMs if that wasn't the case. Um, so we have Trame on here. So Trame, you're newer here. Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, what's up? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Cool, cool. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I thought Mush Mamba was a bit soft there, so felt like it was fair to call him out. I'm sure we'll see him back by December. He'll be missing the league. But yeah, I am in the college football league. CMC is on the block, so if you all looking for a running back, shoot me a DM. We got some pending trades going on, but nothing locked in. So, yeah, it's been really fun being here. I just joined last year. I think I did 2 seasons last year. So it's funny you guys are like saying all the names, and I'm just trying to figure out what team they were last year. Because that's how I know everybody is whatever team they were when I joined. So still trying to piece everyone together.
Awesome. Well, did anyone get to play him last year? Does anyone have anything to like say about his game?
I did get to play last Madden, and I will say that he used a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets, single backs, and found a way to pass very well out of that, which is surprising because most guys are running out of those formations, and a lot of the quick passing and um, he made some made some mistakes having some turnovers in the red zone, but if he can limit the turnovers in the red zone and score points, win close, I think scoring each possession keeps you close in games and takes the ball downfield, taking up a lot of time. So it's a good strategy for success and keeping yourself in games against top tier opponents. So I'd see him expand his offense downfield a little more, and he'll be a competitor in this league.
Yeah, I mean, that can be accelerated with the 49ers. You have Fred Warner. Don't trade Fred Warner. He uses superhuman
Absolutely.
360 jump spin animations that he gets. He's going to be a monster. I remember, I think Vegas got him at one point, and like any league I ever played against Fred Warner was just a nightmare because that dude just intercepts everything. So definitely take advantage of that defense, take advantage of your running game, and I mean a three tight end set would be good because you have a good running back and you have Kittle and you can, take advantage of that. But yeah,
Yeah, appreciate it. You guys can't say too many bad things because I'm sitting here, right? But yeah, yeah, I think everyone who's played me knows you're probably going to get one or two pick sixes against me. I got to limit that. It's pretty hard to win games when you're having 28-point swings in the red zone throughout the games. But yeah, I got a little bit of beef on one person ahead of me on here, but we can talk about that next pick.
okay.
Nice.
Well, speaking of that, we're moving on to Nose Booster. So he
Oh
returned
yeah.
last Madden after a multi-year hiatus. He once threatened to kick my ass. So I'm definitely a shit in the Discord, so I get it. But like, I think I was probably like, I don't know, like in my like maybe 20 or something like that. And yeah, he was definitely like just threatening to kick my ass. But again, I probably deserved it. So, and then finally, he acquired JT, and I figure, you know, Colts can speak on that one.
Yeah, sure. So I know I think he's 40 some years old, so gives you a little more information about the age discrepancy there. But yeah, JT wise, I think he's Nos's Timmy's brother, and they're Wisconsin fans, so he was very interested in JT. I told him that he should not make TJ Watt his star player, so he can trade with me. And for Joe fashion, I typically trade for a blockbuster pass rusher. So he was looking to add to his offense. He likes the Wisconsin Badgers. I think that in PRC, you might be able to speak to it more in history. In PML, he once was a pretty solid user. Um, so I think that last year he was kind of knocking the rust off, and I expect him to climb up a little bit here. He's got a good team with a lot of weapons. Acquiring JT in offense, I think, will help that squad.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always. I think he was always a, at least like middle of the pack kind of guy. I can't quite remember that long ago, but um,
Sure.
yeah. So I know that Trame said he had issue with someone. Was this who you had issue being W?
Oh yeah, I mean you could have put me 30 with him behind me, and we'd all been good. This is I think I won 4 games total out of 2 seasons last year. 2 of the wins were against him. They was the only person I could beat. It was I loved it when he popped up my schedule twice, and I was like, finally I can get a win. So yeah, this is the only person I've swept. One of one of I guess 3 people I've ever beat. Um, so yeah, no. I think I could have been at 30 with him at 31, and I would have had no issue with that.
I
Well,
love it. I hope these guys play week one.
yeah, rivalry.
No, it would have been good. It would have been good to start off 1-0. I would have loved that.
Love it. New guys talking shit. Yeah, I think that he set up for some. I think, I don't know. His division's definitely gonna be tough. Lynch is always tough as the Browns. Carter is the Ravens. And then Jake is Bengals. So he's definitely, I think, like preseason wise, I think he's fourth in the division on these power rankings. He's got a lot of work to do within divisions. So if he can win division games, he gives himself a chance at playoffs.
Man,
So those are gonna be tough games.
that's a brutal division.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think him being ranked here is probably good with the competition he's going to face.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, next we're going to go to 25. And 25, we have Kobe. So he failed to live up to his AFC East Championship hype in Madden 24. I believe Cody and Eric and Lynch all claimed that with the Dolphins he was going to win the division. He's an effective multitasker. He was able to play PML games while also playing his PS5 last year. And he has had, I think, at least one competitive game in the preseason tourney. So good on him. I'll speak to him as someone who played him a lot last year. He was in my division. He just runs the shit out of the ball with no regard for like any like skill, logic, anything like that. He could be getting negative yards every time and he still does it, and then maybe he'll throw a pass on third down. He does some good things like on defense. He like moves his user around. He has the ability to complete a pass. It's just like the play calling is kind of mind numbing. It's like you can see that there's some kind of user skill there, and I don't know if he was just in season one of last year already checked out, but like I scratch my head when I play him and I don't understand what he's actually trying to accomplish. So that's about all I have on him. I'll pass it on to whoever else wants to talk about him.
My question for you guys is, what makes him all the way up to 25? 'Cause I see who we've talked about already. So I guess what last year shows him not being in the bottom 6 or 7.
Yeah, so I mean, typically last year he would usually finish close to about 7 or 8 wins a season somehow. So he'd end up around the middle of the pack of the league, except I think the last season he maybe won like 2 games because he was just playing his PlayStation and letting the clock run. Um, so that's why he's like I have him here. Because, and again, I think like you can see some distinctive skill. It's just like mind-numbingly bad play calling. So that's why I have him there.
How many of those wins were forced wins against Mush Mamba because he didn't play?
At least 2 each season. That's yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, well, I mean, when he's trying, like to TRC's point, he can get like 6, 7 wins, or at least he did last Madden. But his will to try sometimes is escapes him.
I think his will to develop and player to X factor exceeds his will to win at times.
Oh,
Like
yeah, because
Tommy Trimble and his running backs, and so I think he
he,
cares more about developing the team.
yeah, he's definitely developed some like Tommy Tremble, the X Factor. He's had some safeties in the past that have been really good and stuff, and like, but yeah, I don't know. The play con is interesting. That's all I got.
all right. Well, we'll move on to 24. 24, we got Vizzy. And my first question is it Bo Nix season? In real life, I think Bo Nix has been looking really impressive. And I know Vizzy loves to develop his players, so I'm guessing Bo Nix is his starter week one. I haven't talked to him,
Definitely.
but I feel like that's what it's got to be. We got I have the question, which Vizzy are we getting? So you get some Vizzies where he goes and makes the playoffs and makes a run at the Super Bowl, and then you get some years where Vizzy's just not overly competitive. Like last year, I don't think he had any playoff runs, but the year before, I think he made it to, or maybe 2 years before he made it to a Super Bowl. So it just depends on how involved he's going to be. And then finally, we have trade rules where we've kind of opened up more possibilities where we can trade people multiple times in a season, have more draft picks. That rule was like first put in place because Vizzy would trade rate people and he would be like, "Hey, I'll give you a third for this player," and then flip it to someone else for a first. So
Right.
will he take advantage of this? I don't know how active he's been so far. I've kind of had like a couple conversations with him, but will he be his crazy trade person, make a really good team with the Broncos and develop his quarterback? I mean, the rest is to be seen.
Yeah, he definitely is one of the better negotiators in the league, and I am not surprised at all to hear that he would trade a third for somebody and turn them for a first because the guy is a master class negotiator, and he'll sit and make you sweat on trades that you think are nearly done, and it'll last another week. So, but to your point, we've definitely had some competitive Vizzies that make playoff runs and things. Um, and he always finds a way to get like some 6'3" safety that it could still be like 84, like 85 speed, and he finds a way to give him like X factor. So good developer of talent, likes to keep young guys with some intangibles, and I'm very interested to see how he stacks up against a very tough division with Strawberry, now Slick Butter, and Zerply. So um, I think he's going to find some very tough divisional games, and if we get the competitive Izzy that can enter the shed with his defensive tackles and stop the run early. I think he can compete in some of these games. So 24, if you get the competitive Izzy, this is a very low ranking, but if it resembles a little bit more like last Madden, this may be appropriate.
Yeah, Slick, do you have anything to say? He's going to be in your division this year.
Yeah, I've played him. I think last cycle we split games, so I've seen the competitive side and interested as well. I think the division's going to have some competition, I guess, depending on if the other two. But I expect some good matchups this year.
Yeah, he's not one you want to go into a game underestimating for sure. If you do, you're going to find yourself like in a close game where it's going to come down to like one long drive at the end.
All right. I'm going to move on to number 23. And 23, we have Teen Titans. So one of the few users to win a PML preseason tourney game, few new users, that is. I guess it comes to who does he start at quarterback. I'm guessing it's Malik Willis because he's trying to trade Mayo Boy. Um, and then can he compete in his division? He's going to have a tough division. He's got Texans, he's got Colts, he's got Jags, who, you know, at one time won Super Bowls. So it's going to be it's going to be a gauntlet for him. But he's kind of shown, a good showing to start. So that's all I have on him. I think Slick said he helped bring him in. So what do you got on him?
Yeah, he's a long time, you could say, friend. Talked to him. I never met him, but played a lot of 2K with him. Played Madden in a different league with him. He's a grinder. He normally has pretty close games, and but he does always seem to find wins. But it is interesting to see how he'll do in that division and what his moves are with his trading. I think I just saw he traded for safety, if I'm not mistaken. Literally, just I think he traded Curtis, Julian Love. So I just saw he's making trades. He's active. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I think he's in my DMs within the past couple minutes, so he's definitely out there trying to make trades.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how he competes in our division. Um, we have some top level PML talent, and um, so I think he's going to be kind of like the fourth member of the NFC East last year, just competing against some good talent in the division and see how he stacks up. But it's going to be a quick test. I think our schedule, or at least when I looked ahead at my schedule, it includes Echo, Vegas, Nos, a lot of guys that you find in the top 10 um, year after year in Madden. So if his schedule resembles a lot like mine, we're going to find out really early how he stacks up with some top competition in the league.
Yep. Yeah, I think someone like Cody would be like a good starter team for him to kind of show what he can do. If he can beat him, he can kind of push past like the middle part of the league at least.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Going to move on here to number 22. And at 22, we have Breakneck. I think he had some really underrated drafting last year. He got some like good corners, just a lot of good players. Really got like a good halfback, other stuff like that. Um, he likely needs a run-heavy approach to compete. I was in division with him, and the best games he plays are when he just kind of runs it and stops himself from throwing a bunch of interceptions. And I mean, he can put up a fight versus solid teams. I've seen him. I've played a close couple games versus him, and I know that I think he had a close game versus Joe in the preseason tournament or something like that.
Yeah, it forced me to take a 4 minute and 33-second drive at the end of the game, kill all the clock, take a field goal at the last second. So, um, I we played a very tough game, and I think I had got a turnover or two, and he had and then he had thrown a couple too. But so very competitive match, and felt like with 4:30 to go, if I scored quickly, he was going to kill the clock and go for two. So I felt like it was best just to, after the first couple plays, to drain the clock and go for the win with the field goal. So um, I think that's the way he played me in the pool play games was a big step up from when I've played him in previous Madden games. But I will say, if I recall correctly, my last matchup with him last Madden was very similar. It came down to a one possession game at the end of the game. So to your point, his best games are when he runs, stays under control, limits turnovers. I think his defense is solid enough because PML defense is very hard to not give up a ton of points. So I think it's good enough to keep him close as long as he can take some clock and continue to score points. So he's definitely a grinded out kind of player when he competes.
Yeah, good points. I could also probably turn this over to Tiger. I think like he in like maybe early season Madden or something like that, he had like his career defining win against Tiger. I think so at least, or at least he got close. And I remember him being like super excited about that. Tiger, do you have anything on him?
Yeah, you remember correctly. I think it was season 1 or 2 last Madden. He beat me just exactly how you described how he played well against you guys, just chewing the clock, running it, limiting possessions, which good strategy, not knocking it. That's exactly what you need to do. Then he became the self-proclaimed NFC wrecker, if I recall the exact term he
I
used.
remember that.
So I wasn't bitter about it. But yeah, we never let that happen again. So he got a big win. It was noted, and we adjusted. But hey, hats off to him. So hopefully he can continue that and can reign some terror in that AFC East.
Yeah, I definitely think too that you look at the Patriots roster, it's if it's not the worst, it's one of the worst in Madden to start with, and so I think he understands that he doesn't have the high power offensive weapons. But the way he played with Drake May against me in the pool play, I think if I'm in the AFC East, I'm definitely taking note of that because he was able to, dot me up quite a bit with Drake May, and he's able to scramble it too with him. So, and it's a great starter quarterback for him. Maybe what he needs, considering he was went to go to Malik Cunningham last year, who started off at like a 50 or 60 overall. So I think starting with Drake May is going to help accelerate his progression this season.
All right, we're gonna move to 21 here. And 21, we have Skulls. So these are not Seafield Eagles. The trades aren't going to happen like Seafield, the cycling players in and out. I guess my question is, how is he going to handle all this talent? And I'm guessing that he's going to keep it. They're all so good. I think he's going to try and run with it and see how good he can do it. So can his team carry him? I think it's going to carry him to at least, middle of the pack, get a decent amount of wins. But I guess it just comes to what can he do with it. He's got so much talent, and we've seen in the past when he had the 49ers, he was, fringe playoff team in and out of the playoffs. So can he do that with the Eagles?
Yeah, I think there was somebody else earlier that we talked about. Oh, kind of like Vizzy. I feel like him and Vizzy are very similar to where when they are competitive, they can get into like that playoff runs and um make playoff appearances, and then sometimes like some seasons they just disappear. So kind of in the mix, kind of in this 20 to 25 range. So I don't know if it's like a motivation or time but like I feel like when he really locks in and I feel like he's a heavy like nickel defense player, but very solid at it. So kind of like Vizzy, I feel like they can climb at times, but you're gonna see a lull of like 2 or 3 seasons and then like them come out of nowhere. So I think, yeah, to your point, TRC, if he can take into this talent early now before he has to either dump it or get rid of it or not sign people for cap reasons, this is his time to kind of make that jump again.
Yeah. Anyone else have
Yeah, I
anything
could.
to say about Skulls?
Yeah,
I played competitive game. Oh,
Skulls return to the Eagles is always good to see. Someone that's a fan of the team. He's definitely one that he won the division 2 months ago against when Vegas and I were in there. I think one time, and it was pretty competitive for most seasons. So Biggest thing for him is just being able to counter when people blitz him. So if he could do that, then he'll stay competitive and compete within the NFC East. Go ahead, Slick.
I was just gonna say I've had competitive games with him, so I think with the talent, it'll be. I think you could see some really good games and be sneaky. Then at 21, you know, depends on how much he trades those players or what he does. Like you said, manages the team. It's interesting to see how that'll play out or how much he keeps.
Yeah, for sure. And Trey, this guy was Panthers last year. If you were trying to think about what team he was and who he is, but do you have any comments about him, or did you play him last year when he
No,
was the
I
Panthers?
appreciate that. I don't think that we played when he was the Panthers.
Okay.
Yeah, the only I just see Eagles and I think Super Bowl champ. So, you know, it's a good reminder that it's not Seafield, and we'll see what he does with Hurts. I think when did I mean last year or when did how quickly did the Eagles get trade away Hurts last year?
Season two? Was it
Yeah,
was it one or two?
I
Because
think
he
season
got
two.
Waddle like week 8. We thought there for a second we'd have a no speed Seafield, and that dream got ruined preseason when TRC. We thought we had no speed TRC, and he went and got Jameson. So
Yeah, I just think it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, I think the same like the Eagles and the Bills, like some of these teams with really good QBs, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep their team, especially Eagles. If he can keep the Eagles as good as the Eagles are right now over
right,
seasons. Yeah, so
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of lobby games. I mean, we're playing against the Eagles or Chiefs, and Barkley is insanely good. So um, Skulls has shown the ability to run in the pass, and if he can do that again this Madden, it's gonna be tough.
Mhm.
Along with Hurts.
All right, jumping to 20 here. At 20, we have Jags, our
Skip.
fearless commissioner. We got 5-time Super Bowl winner. Can't forget that. It was like 10 years ago, but we don't forget here. Um, can the offense catch up with the defense? So, I mean, he always plays good defense, always gets some kind of crazy safety in the draft that he can end up having be a star for him and gets his picks. And then, I mean, he lost. I just had to note this. He lost to NSL's owner and the PML NSL attorney, like one of those just brutal losses where it was like, just stop. He's already dead kind of losses. So have to give Cody shit for that. But we love Cody. And yeah,
Yeah, I think your point is right about his defense. Always pretty solid defense. I think he's stolen a game for me at least like I think 2 or 3 each of the last couple Madden cycles. So we always have good games, and a lot of times I get bailed out in the end or have some fortunate break for me or bounce go my way towards the end of the game. So very rarely do we have blowouts in our matchups. Definitely a defensive guy. So I'm very happy he's a user in my division because he's obviously very active and very good. And if anybody has a problem with this league, go create your own. This is Cody's league. I had to say.
Tiger, do you have anything to say?
Nope, you guys covered everything. Like Joe said, in regards to rankings, if you don't like them, create your own. If you don't like the league, we're all here because of Cody.
Yep. All right. Jumping to 19, and at 19 we got Wesco. He made some moves for secondary help. I traded him J.C. Horn, so looking to kind of bolster there. He's got good offensive weapons. I mean, DK. I was gonna mention Geno Smith, but I found out today that he cut Geno Smith, and I said that because Geno's a good passer, and he apparently he has 89 speed this year. So why not pitch or have him out there? But I guess he didn't want him. He's gonna start the Sam Howell experiment. We'll see how that goes. And it just comes to can he take the next step? He's always right around the middle and kind of fringe of the playoffs. Can he finally start winning those close games, those big games? Last year, I played him a time or two, and I didn't have much trouble because I'd go out there and I'd see the things he does well was like a halfback wheel, and I would protect against it. And halfback wheels worked very well against a lot of different defenses, but when I saw it, I adjusted to it. So my challenge for him is to not just find one play and one concept that works, but once someone realizes what you're doing, have another thing to fall back on and then another thing after that. Because when you play good users, they're going to see what you do, they'll adjust to it, and that's when you have to start making adjustments to your adjustments, and that's how you break out of the middle. So that's what I have on him.
Yeah, I would say um, that oftentimes he kind of has like he has some like few go-to plays that he kind of relies on in crucial situations, and he kind of predetermines on those plays specifically. He predetermines who he's looking for right away, so the good users will notice that and recognize when the play call gets called again. But he can kind of just um, slow down his decision making and kind of stay calm in the pocket. He does really well and has found some success. So I think he actually um, beat me last week of the season, season 1 or 2 last Madden to make playoffs. Unfortunately, he had to play me in the first round of playoffs, but um, yeah. So he's definitely somebody who can find his way in the playoff bubble, and so far more times than not he finds himself on the outside of that bubble versus the inside. But I think he can make that next step. It's very interesting to see with his division where he lines up there. Train's relatively new. You got Jaw there, who's our 32nd ranked guy and an unknown in Cardinals. So um, he's the highest ranked in his division. We'll see if he can maintain that status here after season 1.
Yeah. Trame, do you want to call him a bitch? Do you want to say something about him?
Hey, he's like 6'8" and like 260, so be careful.
I want to be very very clear that I think everything I've said hasn't been slander or anything, right? I don't think saying Mamba has had a bunch of forced losses isn't anything crazy, and saying the only person I've beaten twice isn't anything crazy either. So I don't have any slander here. I'm actually
But
trying to
he's
figure
a
out how to look up who I played. What team was he last year?
Texans.
Yeah, this is one of my 4 wins last year, I believe. I think I
Ooh.
kept him out of the playoffs. He wasn't very happy. I think it was yeah, I think that was a quick blame EA game. The Discord was a lot of fuck EA that
Oh
time
yeah. Yep.
because he lost week
Legitimate
18.
excuse. Legitimate excuse. Legit type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, I was just happy. I got my 4th win of 2 seasons and kept him out of the playoffs, so it was pretty cool.
All right.
I like that. I like that. So there's more trash talk to come in the NFC West. Got it. Maybe some slander.
Well, I don't expect to beat him again. EA helped me out quite a bit, so
Right.
he'll probably get 2 wins against me this year, and kudos to him. That'll be great. But that'll help my draft picks.
Yeah. So it sounds like, humble Seafield Lees and humble Trame joins the league. So there we go. Who we
Yeah.
got at 18?
At 18, we got Ron. So with Ron, he came out of nowhere to have an impressive back half of Madden 24. Um, he has never answered a DM once. I have been all over those DMs trying to get players, and man, he is very great at not answering them. And then finally, despite success, Vegas swears he's ass. Like every time he goes out there, he's like winning a playoff game or like beating someone he shouldn't be. Vegas like, this dude fucking sucks. What are you doing? So I don't know what Vegas has against him. I think he's in Vegas's league, and I guess maybe he just doesn't perform well there. But he had a good year with the Saints last year, and he really utilized Christian McCaffrey, I believe. So maybe reach out to Trame, get CMC, and repeat
There you
that. He's
go.
he's already got all the weapons in the world with Tyreek and Waddle and a 96 speed halfback and then a backup 93 speed halfback. So he's got everything you could want. I think his team was kind of why I have him up here too because I think he kind of tailed off a little bit. But man, if you can't win with the Dolphins, I don't know what you could win with.
Yeah. And maybe he can submit his application to be a Joe if Vegas swears he's ass all the time. So I like it. No, I think you covered all my points on him.
All right. Well, I'll jump on to 17 now. And 17, we have DeCarter. So defense has always been there. Can Lamar take him to the promised land? I mean, he's been a Ravens fan. I've been kind of pushing for him to get the Ravens for a while, and he's finally got him. So they have just a shit ton of talent in Baltimore. He's got, I think, like a 93 speed, or not rookie, but young halfback. He's got Lamar. He's got weapons at wide receiver. It, I think that is going to be able to carry him to new heights. He was kind of fringe playoffs last year. He's always been like a playoff person and kind of dropped last year with the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see how he does with this team. I think he's going to be competing for that division every year with the offense, the offensive talent carrying him, and then his defensive user ability kind of shutting people down. So the biggest question kind of comes to how is he going to manage his salaries? Lamar's already being paid. He's got so many good players. They're going to have to get paid. What does he do from there?
Yeah, I also think last Madden he might have set a record for like ability players drafting in the draft. He got like 5, like season 3 or 4. So yeah, to your point, if he's gonna have to manage cap and he can draft well, maybe that helps him with the cap situation. But definitely a competitive user, and his very first PML game was like he came in for somebody dropping out that he would make playoffs and beat Seafield in round 1. So that will forever like go down in history as probably the greatest first game in PML history.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that's all
Very
we have.
competitive user.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say very competitive user.
But that's all we have for the first half of the power rankings. We're going to be back tomorrow with the second half. Thanks, everyone.